Lauren Chalice. I'm chairman of the Programme Committee of UK's research in this area. I've been pretty interested in what you've had to say. One of my difficulties is that I understand that none of this has yet been published. You've given us a very detailed mechanism, and obviously that could be rather alarming. But we really need your work to go through the usual process of peer review, and then we can judge what we think about it. And we just can't really comment on it until we see that process. That's not just belief, it's the normal scientific process. And I know, for example, on the, you obviously, if the work is published, you're going to be giving us some fairly revolutionary numbers. For example, I'm not at this meeting, but I've seen your presentations which are on the web, TV interviews you've given, and you've spoken about eye cancer. Now, there have been 3 published studies on eye cancer, as you know. 2 of them found nothing. The one by Stang in Germany in 2001 was done on 18 cases. They found what was something they said was significant, but the author said the limitations of this study are such that we can draw no conclusion from it. So the published work on eye cancer is showing nothing. Now, if you have work on eye cancer that disagrees with that, we need to see it. We need to know. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just waiting until I see it all through peer review, and then I have a judgment on what you said. I think it's fair comment.
And that's fair. In the Safe Wireless Initiative, we're not about waiting.
Sure.
We jump out there so that we can help people. But your comments are fair. And as I mentioned this morning in our meeting, we have 6 papers now that are in various stages of process. Information on the cell membrane mechanism is in peer-reviewed literature. I mean, that's not my work. I'd love to take credit for it, but I can't. That's out there. The free radical work is out there. The intracellular communication work is out there. So don't make the conclusion here that we're just guessing. We're not guessing at all.
What are you going to do about it, Professor Johnson? What research?
All right. Michael Clark keeps saying there is no evidence.
Go on.
We're sick of it.
Tell it as it is. Go on.
We have done volunteer studies. 6 volunteer studies, and they are, I hope all of them will be published by May. And not all of it yet has been peer reviewed, but the indications are that neither on sensitives or on controls are we seeing any short-term effects. We looked at a wide range of physiological effects and problems. Now, maybe we're doing the wrong experiment, but they will be reported and people can comment and give us advice on what the right experiments. So that's the short term. Now, the difficulty is that short-term effects don't necessarily tell us what long-term effects. There have been 2 recent epidemiological studies, one on glioma, which is malignant brain cancer, one on acoustic neuroma, which is a benign cancer just outside the brain on the acoustic nerve. Both these are finding an increased risk. However, the authors of both of these say, A, it's barely significant, it could be due to chance. You are asking people who are ill to remember how much they actually use the mobile phone for. Not easy. And even the statistical says this could be a 4% chance, it could be due to chance. 4% possibility. The other possibility is recall bias. You're asking somebody who's ill to remember which side of the phone, which side of the head they use the phone. And we know from other sources that sometimes there's an inclination to want subconsciously to blame a cause on an effect. So there may be a bias which says, well, I use it this side where the tumor is, didn't I? So what the authors of these papers have said is there may be an effect, we need to follow it through, and I entirely agree. So to answer Dr. Gibson, one thing we're doing is to recommend that we carry out an epidemiological study which is free from bias and which will pick up other diseases, not only brain cancer and acoustic neuroma, but Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, motor neurone disease, all sorts of diseases that might be affected by mobile phone. And I believe that's very important. The other thing we want to do is look at children. And you've already commented on children. I entirely agree that children are much more sensitive to a whole range of what medics call insults, things like lead pollution, things like ionizing radiation, they react differently, things like skin, sunlight, they react differently. Possibly even, as you say, there is some epidemiological evidence of childhood leukemia being affected by magnetic fields. It's still uncertain, but the evidence is there, we have to explore that. So I think we want to look at children. So those are the two priorities I think the UK should be looking at. There are a number of others. It may be from discussions I've had this morning that we should have some ideas of what more we can do on sensitives. Which obviously is an issue at the moment. We've done what we can. Maybe we haven't done the right things. We need to talk more and think about it. So to answer that, please, that's what we want
Where's
to
the
do.
money coming from to do those kind of research?
Well, we're looking for, we want, as we do with the MTHR program, we want to have joint funding from government and industry with a file. As we did in the present MTHR program, we tell sponsors, different government agencies, different industrial companies, broadly what we want to do. We can't expect them to fund things unless they do broadly what they want to do. Once they've signed the contracts on that basis, they have no role whatsoever to play in the choice of the programs, in the management of the programs, the publication of the data. We are completely firewalled from our sponsors, and both industry and government want it that way because people don't believe research is funded by either of the sponsors.
So the independent, yeah.
We must be independent, and I think we are independent.
Okay, yes.
Can I have a response?
You hang on to this, and I'll let you come back, George, yeah, because I want to give the public in as well. Yes, ma'am, and you.
I'm Mary Jodley from BATMAN, which is Banbury Against Telephone Mass Association Network. In view of the fact the government received in excess of £1 billion per annum in tax from mobile phone companies, what do you think it will take to get legislation in place to site masts further away from schools and residents? While I'm here today, they're actually siting a 50-foot mast 50 metres away from the paper.
Okay, all right. Yes, and the woman behind, yes, with the camera, yeah, yeah.